boys look good.
I am going in deep. I've seen Sonic Movie 2 twice, so I'm basically the Sonic Movie 2 expert. Luckily, they did a super early screening in my small country of Florida, and I also went to a fan event on the 6th. So now that I've seen it twice, there's a lot of sneaky references and things to talk about with this movie that I finally can speak in depth on. And yes, we'll talk about the big reveals and what this means for Sonic 3.
Oh my god!
Because I've seen a lot of people speculating whether Robotnik will return, and I want to go into both sides of that. And you have 3 seconds to leave before spoilers. 3, 2, 1. Yes, I'm going to be covering Super Sonic in Shadow 2, don't worry. This is going to be very in-depth, so I'll break it down into multiple chapters so you don't get too bored and sleepy. By the end of this, you can consider yourself a Sonic Movie 2 lore scout with a deep understanding and knowledge of the universe. And before we get into all of that, let's talk about today's relevant sponsor. A Sonic Movie 2 Remix giveaway being held by Hotline Sewani. He's giving away an Xbox Series S, a Sonic Movie 2 poster, Sonic Movie 2 figures, and 52 shirts. He's been releasing 4 Sonic 2 remixes this past week, and it's all leading up to the big one, the Death Egg theme. To enter, subscribe and follow Hotline, comment hashtag Sonic Movie 2 Remix on one of the videos, and fill out the entry form. It's that easy. They're on all audio platforms, and the giveaway ends April 15th. These Sonic 2 remixes also support a good cause, and they're going to be raising $550 for AFSP. Also, met him IRL, seemed like a cool dude. So go check that out if it interests you. Alright, now let's get into the meat of the video. So there's a lot to go over, and I know you guys want me to cover Super Sonic, Shadow, and Robotnik possibly moving on to the great beyond. But let's start with the pacing issues everyone's been talking about. Now looking at this from afar, I have a totally different perspective. I am not the same raccoon I was when I saw this the first time, panting like a dog to get to the big reveals. I think the pacing couldn't be better. The biggest problems people had were 2 scenes. One with the Siberian bar scene playing Uptown Funk, and the other being Rachel and Randall's wedding scenes. So let's quickly compare this with Sonic Movie 1's bar music scene. It's similar, but very different. So the first Sonic movie had this kind of cool slow-mo scene in a biker bar, but it had this terrible generic song to go alongside it. It felt totally out of place. Now, for Sonic to be a young character, a mass-appealing pop song like Uptown Funk, I think fits very well. Like, yes, gamers, I understand it isn't Yeet going, I'm spinning on these bricks like I'm a laundromat, but it's a mainstream song that's still pretty good, albeit a bit old. But Sonic isn't supposed to be playing the new Megan Thee Stallion tracks, but rather what he has access to in his herd. If anyone were to criticize this, you'd think it'd be me, the Playboy Cardi fan. Obviously, I'm not out here bumping Uptown Funk, but it was a short, fun scene crammed with cool Sonic references to entertain us man babies for a short period. Also, the first film creates a plot hole in the bar scene where Sonic should be able to use his Quicksilver time freeze at any point to easily get his map back from the Siberians. So that scene, while it was cool in the first movie, creates major plot holes as a film, while the second film doesn't really have anything like that to my knowledge. Now let's get to the wedding scene, because I'm just gonna say it. I loved this scene. Rachel going, oh, I guess it works, literally made me laugh out loud. Them rescuing Sonic and Tails was a short but necessary break, and I understand a lot of hardcore Sonic fans will be like, ew, non-neon colored flesh bags? No. Give me funny anthro animals now! I thought all the humans were very funny, especially Rachel and Maddie. Even Tom punching Randall to take the ring was really good and unexpected. Then literally everyone being a GUN soldier. Also the moment when the commander learns Robotnik is back on Earth, just overall a great break that wasn't very long. It cut back and forth, and it was great to see the human characters get some actually decent action scenes. I'd even say if it weren't for these scenes, I'd rank the film lower. They give a lot of meaning and importance to these human characters, and without it, they might as well just cut these characters out of the movie. The GUN commander, who's pretty funny, would barely even be here if that were the case. If you watch my no spoiler review, you know I love this movie. I gave it a perfect 10 for various reasons. Now, I'm saying this is a 10 for a kids movie. A lot of people excuse these high scores by being like, he's
He's just a Sonic fanner. This isn't a real movie.
And I understand, is Sonic Movie 2 and Scarface are very different films. But their differences are why they can't be compared to each other. That's like comparing a rock album to a stand-up comedy album. It's not even close. Not every film has to be a dark film showing the bitter realities of society. Also, I never reviewed the first Sonic movie, as I became a Sonic newstuber, awful term by the way, in early 2021. So brief recap. I think the first Sonic movie is only good because of Sonic. It's honestly a generic film otherwise, with zero surprises in its entire story or plot. Even Eggman being sent to the mushroom world we knew from the trailers. The closest thing to a surprise was Tails, which we all kind of assumed would be the perfect post-credits moment, as he's literally the addition to Sonic 2 game-wise. It only makes sense. I'd give Sonic Movie 1 a 4 out of 10. I think it's an extremely generic kids film featuring Sonic the Hedgehog. No surprises, and the big epic fight is more of a chase scene. Now, Sonic 2 is in every way a Sonic film, and this doesn't mean it's unappealing to a general audience. Just like how No Way Home is a true-to-the-core Spider-Man film. Now, I'm not a hardcore Spider-Man fan, but I still thoroughly enjoyed that movie. And this will sound crazy, but I'd argue Sonic 2 is a better constructed and paced film than No Way Home. I feel like Sonic accomplished a lot with its PG rating. Even Spider-Man had the PG-13 rating to explore darker tones that would appeal even more to a general audience. Not to say either way is bad, as they're both different ways to make a movie. One thing Sonic Movie 2 has over Sonic Movie 1 is that every moment here has meaning. There's no, boring scenes like Sonic sitting in the truck talking to Tom, or that exact same scene again, but now it's in a hotel room.
You will never escape the ice chamber. That's not what you think, Dr. Eggman.
All the dialogue here is short, and it feels like it's serving a necessary purpose. Characters are as fleshed out as they need to be. A lot of people said, more Tails! And while I love Tails, this isn't his story. He'll probably be expanded upon more in the sequel and spin-off Paramount Plus series. In this movie, the only just talking scene is actually a Tails scene talking about growing up and feeling weird.
Maybe being weird isn't so bad.
It's a very short scene, but one of the most impactful emotional scenes in the whole movie to me. And I'll move past this quickly, but as someone with the aughts, I've never felt like I fit it in. I'm very introverted and just focus what I'm working on. I've made these videos for 2 years unpaid with next to no views, just for the love of it. Like most autistic kids, I've always had special interests which revolve around editing and creating. Whether it was videos or music or graphics, I just didn't feel good or accepted to do the other activities kids were doing, and I would instead draw and write stories by myself. And while I learned to be a good writer this way, and I've used this throughout my life to become proficient in new skills and interests, but I felt very alone. And that's exactly the story Tails had. So while you might want to relate to Sonic,
Blue Justice, trademark pending.
There are relatable characters placed through this movie everywhere. So we'll move on from the personal anecdote, but I do think it adds to my perspective on why this movie is so good at adding new levels of depth to these characters we've known and loved for years. This movie very intelligently targets a lot of different backgrounds. The strongest metaphor is Sonic accepting the role of parental authority from Tom and Maddie. Now, I have no relation to this as I've never had a step-parent, but part of Tom's major arc is helping guide Sonic away from his troubles and instill valuable life lessons in him. Sonic rejects it all at first saying, "Stop trying to be my dad, huh? I thought you were my friend." Now, this is literally what kids with stepfathers say in a similar scenario, and it's likely relatable to anyone from that background. And that leads into the character progression here. One thing I've also heard is,
There's very little character progression at all in this movie.
and I'd say the exact opposite. In this movie, Sonic begins as an obnoxious teenager that he began and ended the first movie with. The first movie's entire plot is really just about his selfish desire of retrieving his rings. And in this movie, he starts out just as obnoxious as he ended in the first one, but by the end, he's changed a lot. He learns what it means to be a hero and care for others, and that's much more character development than in the first one. Now the writing, 10 out of 10 writing. There's so many smart ways they introduce very important character traits that you likely brushed over as a Sonic fan. For example, they had to establish that Sonic isn't able to swim for the Knuckles saving him scene to work. So early on, they had him fall out of the boat and immediately yell, "Help, I can't swim!" You likely brushed over this because as a Sonic fan, You already know he can't swim.
Duh.
But this is just one of the very smart ways they worded things to let a general audience know what's going on. They do this a lot, and it's one of the reasons I think for a non-Sonic fan, this is still a great movie. They very quickly and intelligently give you all these bits of information without it being blatantly obvious, and it helps you get enough base knowledge to keep the movie going. Another criticism is some of the jokes. I've even seen some people be like, ugh, Robotnik flosses. Like, yeah, do you not get the joke? It's mocking the floss from the first movie, and I think it's funny the way Jim Carrey phrases it in his signature pacing of talking.
Alrighty then.
And they actually reference the cringe of the first movie a lot. There's even a meow reference
meow?
and an improved Sonic reference. Plus, you've probably already seen it, but they have the trailers gotta go fast. It's all here. I've seen a lot of people talk about there being not enough Tails, but also the movie being too long as well. Tails will have his time in the future, but this is a Knuckles movie. Tails is the sidekick here. I think the spin-off series and sequel will give us more Tails. Now that he's established, as well as Knuckles, we can see all three characters have scenes independent of each other in the third movie. I understand you guys want more Tails, but I think we got a very good amount. I think too much Tails would have gone on like, yes, you feel weird, dude, I get it. We've seen both Kid Sonic and Kid Knuckles only in brief moments when it's necessary to the plot. Tails' origin story isn't something that needs to be visually shown, and if anything, I'd feel like that would mess up the pacing they've established. I'd be like, oh my god, we're seeing baby Tails. Seriously, do we need to see every main character as a baby? Does him experiencing trauma at a young age make him a more relatable character? I think we got just the right amount of Tails. We'll have a lot more opportunity to flesh him out in the series' future, but this movie was even marketed in Japan as Sonic vs. Knuckles. Tails is definitely the sidekick here. So I went to the cast in my other review, so there isn't too much to add here, and I'll honestly just skip past this. By the way, the other review, it's time-carded here if you want to see it. One thing I have noticed my friends say is that having the game's Tails next to Elba's Knuckles and Schwartz's Sonic feels a little off. Maybe it's just a different style of delivery, and while I got used to it within a few minutes, I know a lot of others that couldn't get past that. I think it's a welcome change to have something from the games like that remain static in both universes. And now that both movies have done really well, I wonder what other game parallels they'll continue. Some will be cool and welcome, but there is a few I'm nervous about, like Shadow's voice actor. But we'll get more into that when I talk about Shadow in a second. Before we get into the post-credits, of course we have to cover the golden boy, Super Sonic. Now, we all saw this coming, but it happened.
Hashtag Jaden's always right.
Super Sonic got at it, and let's be real. We all knew this was going to happen. The second I saw the Master Emerald, my ears perked up with the possibility of seeing Super Sonic. I immediately looked it up, and it has been done a couple times where a character's gone supersonic from just the Master Emerald. However, one of the trailers showed a door with several emeralds on it, and with it being the most demanded moment for a sequel, I was like, yep, that's it. It's happening. Them even calling the angry blue-eye Sonic Super Sonic got a lot of attention, so it was inevitable this was going to happen. And the sequel is the perfect place for it. I mean, imagine how harsh the community would be if they didn't do it. Plus, it's going to be awesome to get toys and figures of this, as the fiery look alongside the movie's shoe design is kind of epic. Some people don't like that he gave it up, and I sort of agree. I do wish it was like a timed thing, but that would have created a continuity issue whenever they want to use Supersonic again for more than 5 minutes, so I do understand. I also like that it just makes him more ruthless and terrifying. Kinda like Tom Holland at the end of No Way Home, or Anakin in Episode 3. The classic Kubrick stare.
Speaking of females, the Sonic universe might also be classified as hot chick heaven because there's such a mess of very beautiful and tough women that it'll make you love the franchise even more.
I do think releasing that image of Tom and Maddie looking in amazement with the gold light was a bad idea. They likely thought that would be a totally fine shot and not enough for us to connect the dots. But Jeff, my boy, we are literally the most obsessed and autistic community on the internet, and I could say that since, you know, I have the aughts. If you give us an inch, we're going to analyze it enough until we can get like 4 feet of information. Hopefully with Sonic 3, they're even more aware of this and try to be a bit more careful with the images they put out to the press. Because even if it's not directly shown, If you just capture the other angle of the surprise, we're going to figure it out kind of quickly.
Duh.
Now, let's get into what a lot of you want more than anything else. Shadow the Hedgehog. The post-credit scene that made everyone's jaw drop.
Oh my god.
We got Shadow, and he's drippy. I'll talk about the possibility of Metal Sonic later, as there is a lot of rhetoric about this online, but I'm not going to beat around it and be like, oh, maybe, could happen. Maybe I was right. No, for now, there's no reason to think that, so I'm not going to get my hopes up yet. L for me.
Today, I want to talk to you about the pronunciation of the letter L.
A lot of people have been trying to say that it could be like Knuckles showing up in this film. And after the Sonic 1 post-credits, I was seeing a lot of people going, Jaden, do you think we'll see Knuckles in Sonic 2's post-credits? And there's more Knuckles than there is Tails in this movie, so seeing Metal show up is possible, but let's focus on Shadow for now. So we see Shadow, and it looks like he has drip, but it looks like they're actually wrist locks and a waist one too. While yes, it could be a belt, it looks much more like something used to hold Shadow in place. And looking at this whole thing from afar now, Shadow will sell way more toys than Metal Sonic alone, and is such an iconic fan favorite character. Even the smallest of kids in my theaters went, Shadow! So there's certainly a lot of hype for this character. So let's get into the story of Shadow. So when wiping Robotnik from their computer systems, they found a file dating over 50 years. Project Shadow. This was a kind of weak explanation, and while I know it has to be short because it's a post-credit scene, I don't know, could have maybe been foreshadowed a little bit in this movie.
Pun unintentional.
Even just a line about how Robotnik is so crazy that his file is one of the largest they have or something. That would make some basis for this. A foreshadowing people wouldn't pick up on, and would make it a little less like,
Oh yeah. Also, Shadow, he's been a tube for like over 50 years. See ya in Sonic 3, baby!
I've seen a couple people saying who they want to voice Shadow, and there's a lot of good choices. I'm really hoping to have Keanu Reeves as he fits perfectly. Like, look at this clip from Jordan Pox.
How you holding up?
I keep asking why her.
Where is he?
They know you're coming.
Of course. But it won't matter.
However, after seeing 2011's Drive, I kind of want Ryan Gosling to voice Shadow. I know, hear me out. He has this capability for a darker tone that I think would fit really well. Personally, and I'm sorry if this upsets anyone, but I do not like Shadow's current voice actor one bit. Maybe it's just the direction he's been given for the character. It is not the fault of the voice actor at all, but I just can't stand it. Everyone agrees Jason Griffith is literally perfect, and even in Emmy Jones's Sonic and Tails R, he still has it. I wonder if behind the scenes, after putting Colleen in the end of the first movie, they felt obligated to put her in the sequel to avoid major fan backlash. And I think that's why Shadow doesn't say anything and it just zooms in on his eyes. They left a lot open-ended and they probably don't want to put a placeholder voice, and then when it's different in Sonic 3, people go,
Grr! Not my Shadow!
So this was probably a smart decision behind the scenes. It also gives them a good opportunity to drive up hype and speculation about who the next Shadow voice actor is. Who could it be? Just like Tails is far from being the only secret from Sonic 2, here's a brief overview of things we didn't think we'd see in the first movie. We saw GUN, the Master Emerald, the Chaos Emeralds, Super Sonic, the Death Egg Robot, Knuckles, the Buzzer Badnik, and Eggman's classic pod. So, the possibility of seeing Metal Sonic or any other number of previously unseen things in the movies is very possible. With Sonic 3, they have endless possibilities, pun intended, and there was a lot left open, including one major factor that everyone wants to know. So, is Robotnik gone? Is he, what happened? They make a line like he is, then we see Agent Stone in the background. So they decided it was best to keep it open-ended for now, whether he's truly gone or not. Jim Carrey's been talking about wanting to retire lately, and that's his choice. Some people will be like, no! But he's a creative and an artist. If he feels done and is ready to embrace new change, I guess that's what's best. We see Agent Stone, and while the commander went,
he's definitely gone. There's no way that lunatic survived that.
Maybe Stone will help restore him with robot prosthetics, making him like the darker 90s Robotnik. Or, if Jim is done, he passed away from that fall. You know, R.I.P. It's unclear whether they know and are leaving it open-ended for the audience, or if they don't even know what they're going to do themselves. And with Jim Carrey talking about feeling fulfilled and done, I don't blame them. I love his charm, but I'm open to change and still think the humor will live on in other characters. I've seen a ton of people go,
We can't have a Sonic movie without Jim Carrey.
but these are likely the same people that were like,
Why Jim Carrey?
when the first Sonic 1 trailer dropped. Change is a slow process among large groups, and I know it's hard to imagine something you haven't seen and aren't familiar with. I just say, even if it's Stone and Shadow, that'd be epic. Especially if, like I said earlier, Metal Sonic's there. Ooh. That would be so cool, and I can imagine Shadow having to team up with Sonic, but being more reluctant and less friendly than Knuckles. I'll help you, Hedgehog, but I don't want to join your team. But that's enough of Sonic 3 for now. Sonic 2, again, gets a 10 out of 10. This movie is perfect for what it is. I loved all the scenes, yes, including the human ones. And I think this movie's gonna age like fine wine. People will think I'm simping now, but they're all gonna agree with me in time. We are in a very high point in the Sonic franchise, with all the games coming out and this banger film sequel. Sonic is in the best place in years, and honestly, so am I. Raccoon Nation is growing. Double check. Do you know what I heard? I heard YouTube has a glitch and is unsubscribing people. Oh no. Oh, that's horrible. So quickly, double check. Make sure you're subbed to the #1 source of Sonic news. I'm tired of saying it. I need to find a new catchphrase. But I guess I'm growing, so a lot of you have barely even heard that. You're like, what new catchphrase? That's a brand new slogan. I love you, Raccoon Man. I just found your channel. So yeah, sub and bell. I forgot where I was going, but I love Sonic 2. Excited for Sonic 3. And you know what I love even more? That's right, you. Partially kidding. Lots of love. Peace.
Chasing stacks. I got lost my racks, lost my socks, lost my color, like Jack Frost, lost my love. It was time.